Hi, I'm Justin B., and thank you for joining me for my Intro into Magic series. This is episode 4, and the topic is the development of the sphere of sensation. The sphere of sensation, as I previously mentioned, is the aura, but is also closely related to the imagination. It's your personal sphere of influence, your personal universe, the microcosm. Everything you experience sensationally occurs within it. It's typically an egg-shaped field of condensed subtle force surrounding the body, which contains your thought forms, emotions, and vitality. Although certain health issues and other personality effects can deform it or change it. Its boundaries represent your personal, mobile magic circle. The first major way to develop it is by creating and maintaining a harmony, an equilibrium within it. All the major systems of development have their individual paths in doing this. First, one examines their character, personality, or soul through introspection meditation. This provides a window as recurring thoughts, feelings, and contents that arise point to the attributes within you. A professional astrological birth chart can also be a fantastic guide into what qualities lack or predominate within you. Also, things like personality tests, like the Myers-Briggs, can help with this as well. By using these various mirrors into the soul, one can see the imbalances that need equilibrium. Ancient philosophers had 4 categories that were based on the elements that allowed them to find where disharmony was, and if the element had a positive or negative influence on a person's character. This elemental makeup of ours is with us from birth, provided by our ancestors, and the influence of the subtle force imprinting on us at the moment of our birth, for our upbringing and our culture. By facing and healing our negative qualities with compassion and understanding, as well as willpower, developing the qualities of a positive nature in the elements we lack, we shore up and fortify our sphere of sensation, vivifying it and more accurately mirror the microcosm, which brings us to our next practice, which in every tradition there are rituals that align the sphere of sensation to the compass round. It connects the elemental quarters as well as the heavens above and rooting us to the earth below. These rituals craft a sort of tree of life within us and open up channels of subtle force for more potent magical effect. This work connects us with the zodiacal powers and the eternal vitality of the solar archetype. In the east, with the rising sun in spring, we have the air element, Aquarius, so named because in ancient times its appearance meant rain and floods were coming, and Aquarius was the water bearer. Setting sun in fall, represented by the water sign Scorpio for its emotional depth and its relation to dissolution and death. In the south, we have the summer sun at its hottest, the peak of fire, represented by the roaring lion Leo. The counterpole to this is the sun at midnight, the dead of winter, complete darkness for the earth, and the earth element with Taurus the bull as the sign. The 4 signs represent the seasons at the fullest, where the remaining 8 signs either start or end that particular season. The above and below represent the solve et coagula of the alchemists. One begins the practice of the compass round during their usual meditation times, but facing east. You begin by just being aware of the directions and their symbolic or magical meaning. Over time, you'll build up a sense of imagery, color, form through the power of imagination. But like I said, in the beginning, it's perfectly all right just to be aware of the directions and what those directions represent, concentrating on those powers and the seasons and the time change. This develops right relation to these natural forces. This practice refines the subtle force drawn in through breath work and helps bring about equilibrium and empowers the sphere of sensation. It also develops a sort of magical version of the famed memory palace or astral temple, the practice of creating an imagined space to work within magically without the need of a physical ritual space. Once the 4 compass points and the above and below are established, later work will add in the remaining zodiacal powers, as well as the planetary energies, greatly enhancing your mastery over the subtle force and your influence. The next exercise that helps develop the sphere of sensation is magical breathing. Start slow and gently with these practices because they can pack a surprising punch. Start as usual with the expanded awareness state of your field of awareness, your sphere of sensation. And when you're ready, take a breath into the diaphragm with the intention of drawing in more subtle force than normal. Imagine this in-breath expands your sphere of sensation, like filling a balloon with air. Hold this breath and the energy for about 4 seconds and then release the breath, imagining you also release the subtle force, deflating the sphere of sensation back to normal. Do 7 of these types of magical breaths a session, breathing normally in between each magical breath as needed for you to keep the proper focus. When it's easy for you to draw in and retain this energy, you'll begin doing 7 magical breaths, but holding and retaining that energy in your sphere of sensation, further expanding it outwards. Sit for a while, focus on the quality and the sensation of having an expanded sphere of awareness or sphere of sensation with this energy, and when ready, release this expanded sphere of sensation, this collection of energy with 7 magical out-breaths, returning back to normal. Again, practice slowly and make sure you're comfortable with this practice before you expand any further. Go slow. Later on, you'll develop the practice of focusing on individual qualities within the subtle force and draw that quality into your sphere of sensation and releasing it. And we'll discuss the various qualities in my next video. But develop your magical breathing skills so that you can do a 4-count breath, which is drawing in the energy on a count of 4, and then holding the breath and the energy for another count of 4, and breathing out for a count of 4, and then staying empty and vacant for a count of 4. So in breath 4, hold 4, breathe out 4, empty 4. This will develop your ability to work with the subtle force and get you on this nice sort of breathing rhythm over time. And eventually, once you're able to concentrate these powers, these elements or subtle force qualities in your sphere of sensation, you'll be able to release them directed outwards towards a magical goal. So once you have a little experience with the compass points and magical breathing, the next step would be, of course, Qigong. As I mentioned before, Qigong is a series of physical movements that joins the movement with the breath and awareness to master the control of the subtle force. It also sort of reinforces and expands the sphere of sensation. You can find many videos and books and teachers on the subject, but once again, I have to recommend Robert Ping's book, The Master Key, as it's probably the clearest and most relatable to magical work. The next practice would be internal energy work, or Qigong practices. They're a little more advanced, and you need a good understanding of how to work and direct the subtle force. If you're familiar with the middle pillar ritual from the Golden Dawn, this is a type of Qigong practice. In essence, one uses their concentration power to develop a sphere of concentrated subtle force, of vitality, moving it over, around, and within the sphere of sensation to fortify and energize it. Over time, this light increases and crystallizes and develops the body of light. The increase in health and magical ability from these practices cannot be overstated. It's really worth your time and effort to master these practices. Other more Western occult practices that use the body, breath, and imagination as a means of working with the subtle force and development of the sphere of sensation is the Golden Dawn sign of the Enter, or sign of silence, These ritual movements connect the practitioner to a particular divine power in order to charge the sphere of sensation or release the subtle force for magical purposes. Another famous example of a magical ritual pose is Austin Osman Spare's death posture, which was designed to build up a tension in the sphere of sensation, or as Spare called it, the Zos, and release it into the ocean of subtle force that he called the Kia, in order to imprint his desire to work magic. No matter how a particular group or tradition does so, the combination of postures and breath and imagination has a powerful effect on the sphere of sensation and is definitely something you should work with. So, to review, the method of developing the sphere of sensation is developing equilibrium, learning how to circulate the subtle force between opposing qualities until a refined alchemical balance is achieved. The work connects the sphere of sensation to the macrocosm so that one can better perceive and work with the subtle forces magically. And once the various qualities are mastered, magical power is developed. By working this way, one superimposes on their sphere of sensation the divine human, the Adam Kadmon, or the tree of life, fulfilling the work of Franz Barton's Initiation Hermetic Step 10, merging with the divine image. Join me for my next video as we explore a little more fully working with the elemental qualities, the planetary qualities within the subtle force, and begin to develop the power of the imagination. Until then, this is Justin B. Good magic to you.